Alright, so welcome back. We still have two more animals to discuss. We still have the hoarding flying squirrels and the thieving northern raccoons. So let's start with the hoarding flying squirrels. And this one is the stashing vendor. This is a passive ability card. When you build a stack with this card, you may include junk cards. Well, that is awesome, right? That's one way of utilizing your junk cards. This card lets you use junk cards in building a stack, but only when you build a stack with this particular card. So if you end up using him for stall number 1, then you won't be able to use his awesome ability by getting to add junk cards to this as well when creating a stall. So you should definitely, keep him around a lot longer for a higher costing stall, like maybe the 5th one, or the 6th one, or the 7th one, or even the 8th one. Not likely the 8th one, but probably the 5th or the 6th for sure. So that's a really awesome ability. Right, accordion is next. When you build a stack with this card, you may add or subtract 1 from this card's value for this turn. So this is a passive ability, meaning you're always going to end up adding or subtracting 1 from this card's value this turn. So it will never be 5 when you're using this card for anything like building a stall or buying a card. This number will never be 5. It will either be a 4 or it'll be a 6. But it will never be, obviously. Oh, and it's only for when you're building a stack. So if you're using this card to buy, something, it stays at 5. But if you're going to use this card in a stall, it's either going to be a 4 or it's going to be a 6. And because it's going to be a 6, that's really cool, because then you could use just this card to build the 6th stall. So that's really cool. This one is nostalgic item. When you build a stack with this card, you may include 1 junk card or animal folk card from any set from your discard pile. Well, that is pretty cool. So you're building a stack, and you can use a different color if you want to that's sitting in your discard pile, or even a junk card to create a stall. So you could use this one here and create a 6th stall, even though these are 2 different colors. Or if you're using, creating a 4th stall, you could use a junk card with this nostalgic item to create the 4th stall as an example. So that's a pretty awesome ability. We've already gone through 3 cards, and all of them are really awesome for the squirrels. Alright, so Acorn is next. This one is a technique. You'll swap this card with any card from a stack in an opponent's stall, and then you'll place the new card into your hand. Well, this is kind of interesting. So your opponent might have a stall or 2, or a few stalls. And maybe one of the cards in their stall is a really good card that you would like to use for your strategy. A card that has a really good technique that you want for your strategy. So basically what you can do is you can swap this card with any card from a stack in an opponent's stall and basically swap them out. That is powerful, because that means that you can do it with any number or color. It doesn't matter. It can be lower than this, it can be higher than this. It does not matter. It can be the same as this as well. It does not matter. But the point is, that's a powerful technique, because you can get an awesome card that way. But because that does change their stall, it actually won't change it for them at all. They're not going to hate you for doing this to them, because it doesn't destroy their stall. It doesn't mean that they can't obviously complete the stall or anything. It doesn't change anything at all with their stall. So it might have altered it a little bit, but because they already did it and fulfilled their stall's requirements, it doesn't change their requirements on the stall, even though that this now changes the stall's number. It does not matter, which is awesome. That's a pretty powerful card. So another really good one. All right. This is a passive card, and it's called Winter is coming. When you build a stack with this card, you may immediately build an additional stack in your stall. Oh, that is cool. That is very cool. So this is a passive ability, right? So when you build a stack with this card, you can immediately build an additional stack in your stall. That is cool. So, okay, let's say you use this card to build the 5th stall, right? Well, you can build another stack. Because really, I say the 5th stall, I say the 6th stall, but it's really a stack. You're going to have stack 1, stack 2, stack 3, stack 4, stack 5, stack 6, stack 7, and stack 8. I keep saying stall, but what I really mean is stack. So you're going to have 8 different stacks in the stall. And so I might have said it wrong in the original videos, but the point is that now you can build 2 separate stacks. You can build this, use this for the 5th stack, for instance, and then you can immediately build the 6th stack right after this at no additional, without actually using an additional action to do so, which is really cool. Very powerful. How often do you get to do 2 stalls in one turn? Or should I say 2 stacks in your stall in one turn? That makes this card a powerhouse. But remember, if you're going to do that, the next stall, you better be prepared to do that, because the next stall still has to have, obviously, the cards that will work well with creating the stall. Still, that's really powerful. Definitely an awesome card. Alright, we still have one more card in this deck. This one is the Empty Chest. When you build a stack with this card, you may include cards from any animal folk sets. Well, that's really handy. So when you build a stack with this Empty Chest, you can add another color to the equation if you want, another animal folk card, like this one here, Rotten Food, and make the 5th stack with these 2 cards. That's pretty awesome, pretty powerful. And that's all of the cards that are in the squirrels. We've gone over all of them. Yes, we've gone over all of the cards in this stack. So we still have one more animal to go through, and let's go through it now. All right, here he is. All right, so here we have the thieving northern raccoons. The wily fellow is the first one. This card's technique is you'll swap your discard pile and deck, and then shuffle your new deck. So you have a few cards in your discard pile that you want to immediately play with as soon as possible, because maybe you used a lot of good cards to buy a card, now they're sitting in your discard pile. Your deck is still pretty thick. You maybe you want to use those cards before you use the cards that are in your deck. That could come in handy, because you're just swapping them out. So that's a pretty nice ability. All right, this one is Rotten Food. Place a card, and this is a technique too. Place a card from your hand on top of another player's deck. That is nice. So, let's say I had a junk card sitting in my hand. I play this as a technique. I get to put this junk card and put it on top of their deck. And so now my opponent has an extra junk card that they didn't want. For sure. Or probably didn't want. For sure. So that's a nice little card. Definitely one of my favorite cards for sure. I love the raccoons. I love playing with them. I even love it when I get hit by them. But still, that's the point. That's pretty mean to do, obviously. But also a lot of fun as well. And definitely, mischievous. For sure. So that's a pretty cool ability. But it can be another card too. It doesn't have to be a junk card. And then there's another Rotten Food. Okay, so then we have this one here called Nuisance. This is another technique. You'll discard one random card from up to 2 other players' hands. So this is useful if you're playing with more than 3 people, because you're going to get to discard one random card from 2 opponents' hands. That's pretty powerful, right? Pretty nasty, too. But if you're only playing with one other player, then you're only going to get to do it to only one other player. It's still pretty nasty nonetheless. So if you're playing a 4-player game, one person, sadly, will be left out on this nuisance card. Sadly, one person will be left out. Who to pick, though? Who to pick? For sure. And of course, it's random. You're going to discard one random card, so you're going to look at their card. It's going to be like playing some sort of card game where you're trying to draw a card, and hopefully you're not going to draw the old maid. Basically, that's what you're hoping for. And, so you draw a card, ooh, and it's a good card, and then it gets discarded, because that's what this nuisance card does. So that's definitely a powerful card. But, it could be something like a junk card, and they won't be shedding too many tears over that one, for sure. And it's only going to get discarded, so it's not like they lose it for good. They're just simply a nuisance. All right, so this one is Dirty Exchange. Take one random card from another player's hand and place it into your hand. Then choose one card from your hand to give back. So once again, you get to take one random card from your opponent's hand and you get to place it into your hand. Maybe it's a good card. Maybe it's not. But still, you get to do it. And then you get to choose one card to give back to them. So you could be like, oh, I'm going to take a really good card from them and then give them this junk card. But who knows? Maybe the card you took was a junk card, and so now you're going to give them another junk card from your hand. And so therefore, the dirty exchange wasn't really all that dirty. But maybe it was a good card. Maybe it was, maybe you took this one from their hand and then gave them this one in exchange, basically. Because you get to choose what you're going to give them, but you don't necessarily get to choose what you're going to take from them because it's random. It just comes down to luck, I guess, of which one you're going to take, for sure. But still, it can be pretty dirty. So that's why it's called the Dirty Exchange. Alright, so this one is Treasure Hunter. You'll take the top card from another player's discard pile and place it into your hand. So this is another one of those techniques. Now players will be thinking twice about what card is going to be on top of their discard pile when they discard cards into their discard pile, because this one allows you to take the top card from an opponent's discard pile and place it into your hand. The Treasure Hunter. And obviously, the player that plays this as a technique isn't going to use the technique if all your opponents have junk cards, on top of their discard pile. But if they do that, then other cards that might have really cool abilities that work with the discard pile won't obviously get to use those cool abilities if they're too worried about the thieving raccoons from stealing their cards from their discard pile. So, either way you look at it, it could be a bad thing and it might not be. Okay, so this one is the last card to go over that is in the thieving Northern Raccoons deck. Sabotage. Draw 2 cards from another player's deck. Throw away one and place the other on that player's discard pile. So you get to draw 2 cards from another player's deck. So you're basically taking the top 2 cards of the deck. One is going to get thrown away, meaning it's gone for good. The other one is going to go to their discard pile. So both ways, they're going to lose two good cards. One's going to get discarded, one's going to get trashed. Of course, if they end up being junk cards, then it doesn't obviously hurt them. One goes to the discard pile, and one goes to the trash. They'll be happy with that. So it really just comes down to luck, I guess. At the end of the day, it really just comes down to randomness of what might actually happen. But if they end up both being really, really good cards, like, you end up taking these 2, for instance, one's going to get trashed, the other one's going to get discarded. So which one do you do? Trash this one? Discard this one? It might be a tough decision for sure, but that is pretty nasty because, they've been working on this synergy of building up their deck and trying to obviously fill their stall with stacks, 8 different stacks, and now you've done that, sabotage, and you've definitely sabotaged their deck, for sure, with this card, which is why it's called Sabotage. But there's only one of these sabotages, so the chances of you getting to do this quite a bit, is still pretty slim. And once again, it's whoever buys the sabotage. So if you're planning on, doing a lot of these nasty raccoon cards, your opponents will start doing that too. They're going to take the sabotage and use it on you. Even though you're using rotten food and other various cards, they might end up taking the best card from you. Who knows? But still, that's pretty powerful for sure. And a lot of fun, especially if you like messing with other players' decks. And I most definitely do. So the raccoons are definitely a favorite. Alright, so we went over all of the animals and discussed all of the different animals that are part of this particular Dale of Merchants games. What are the best cards here? What do you guys think were the best? Do you guys have a favorite? Maybe you do. But you'll probably be thinking that the raccoon is not an animal you're going to want to play with if you don't like the nastiness of it, for sure. But maybe you do. I definitely like the raccoon. But as we noticed, the squirrels definitely had a lot of awesome abilities. Almost every card they had, if not all, were extremely useful. So playing with the flying squirrels is definitely a good one to start with, for sure. The Scarlet Macaws had some really good cards as well. The chameleons were definitely the most confusing and, definitely the most interesting as well. And of course, the ocelots still come down to just dumb luck of how their cards will work. But still, getting to roll a dice with their cards, some of their cards, might be kind of fun, for sure, getting to do that. So, and then of course the giant pandas might have also been your favorite as well. Who knows? It might have been these guys too, because they had some interesting abilities as well. But if you ask me, my favorite is definitely I definitely like playing with these guys a lot. I definitely like playing with these guys a lot. I think the only ones here that I'm not a huge fan of are actually the giant pandas. I don't think I like to play with the giant pandas nearly as much as the other animals. But still, yeah, they're still a lot of fun. And even the giant pandas have their cards that I enjoy playing with. So I think pretty much when it comes down to it, it's going to be hard to decide which animal you want to play with, if you're only playing with two people especially. Well, thank you guys for watching all of these videos, and I'll see you guys again soon.